Hello there. Very much welcome to our second Hangout that we have in the framework of the specialization Challenges in Global Affairs. We are very happy to see that so many of you have actually achieved finishing 3 courses and now working on this final project. So we're very happy about this. I am Madeleine Hosli. I'm a professor of international relations here at Leiden University. Let me pass on to my colleague, Professor Richard Griffiths.
Hi there. I'm Richard Griffiths, and I am also in Leiden University. I'm Professor of International Studies here, and I was responsible for the Configuring the World course. Now, we've been together for a week, and obviously we've moved further forward. 82 of you have actually submitted a set of research questions. Now, that's only about a third of all of the people on the course, a third and a quarter, so there's a lot more scope to go. So I've got 2 comments to make. Firstly, if you still want some reaction to your research question, why not just post it on the forum and get some reaction from your fellow peers there? The forum has become quite a lively discussion where I think there's a lot of very good advice being shared among you. At the moment, though, only about 100 odd people are actually using the forum. So if you're out there and you haven't been in the forums yet, go and pay it a visit. And then one small thing, it's good to have submitted your research questions for comments, but don't forget, you're supposed also to comment on other people's. So there's 3 or 4 of those to do, so don't forget that that's all part of this peer review process. So that's a couple of reminders from me just to kick off, and I'll hand you back to Madeleine.
Thanks very much. Yes. We have looked at the forum, and we were very happy to see that many of you are very active. There was a little bit of a confusion, I should say, in terms of by when the research question should be submitted. Is it 12 noon? Is it 12 midnight? So yes, it was 12 noon, but those of you who didn't make the deadline, please feel free to just discuss your question on the forum. Yes, you will not have this formal procedure of peer reviewing, but I see that many of you are really giving good advice, and you've probably noticed that we as teachers sometimes come in with a little piece of advice from our own side too. So this is, let me be very honest, kind of a difficult process to come up with a good research question. We have seen in the forum, for example, in the shared ideas thread, a lot of interesting ideas about what we could do in terms of the research. Now, getting to a good research question, of course, means that we should already know a little bit about the background of the issue we look at. Think about a bilateral conflict or a challenge in terms of international organizations management, or maybe some kind of development in global affairs where configuring the world has really helped you get insights. So we need to think about the question knowing already a bit about the background. Now, this is a difficult process, and let me say that I think that the podcasts that Professor Griffiths has posted for us are extremely helpful. There are 3 podcasts, and actually the first 2 are what you really need to see now. You need to see how you can go about and how you derive at this question. One other piece of advice that's more my personal advice: don't make the research question too complex. So don't aim at 3 or 4 sentences, but rather something, even though it sounds a bit like simplifying reality, a question that sounds kind of easy, straightforward, but that obviously needs a lot more to be tackled. So this is a little piece of advice. Then the other thing, obviously, we have deadlines coming up. You have until February 13th to finish your essay, and then we have the peer review process up to the 27th. I think it is very important. When we look at the forum, we see this very good level of discussion. That's exactly what we need for the essays. It's a collective learning experience. Back to Professor Griffiths.
Okay, thank you, Madeleine. And I want to just reinforce what Madeleine's been saying there. Lots of you are giving topics, all of which are perfectly legitimate, and then saying, is my approach suitable for answering this topic? But of course, with every topic, there are about 20, 30, 40 different ways that you can tackle it. So what you really have to decide is, which one do I want to choose? Where do I want to concentrate? Obviously, you can't do them all. Nobody expects you to do them all, but try to get some focus and answer just 1 or 2 simple questions. Try and anticipate yourself where the answers might lie, and then express that as a research hypothesis. Now, many of you said, where are we and who are we? How many of you are up here together? I can give you some answers there, and I want to discuss some of the details with you. There are about 300 of you now following this course together, and we're really looking forward to that. That's bigger than most of our courses at this level here at the university, so this is really good fun and large scale for us as well. About 40% of you are from Europe, and a quarter from North America, and that's quite interesting because that's the reverse of what the usual Coursera makeup is. So we're a bit more European than the average Coursera class. Now, very encouraging as well, there's 13% of you from South America, with Brazil leading the way. 7% of the class is from Brazil, 6% is from Africa, and 14% of you are from Asia. So we have a really international class here. And let's put these inputs together, because if you're looking at world problems or conflicts from America, it's going to be very different from looking at it from Latin America or from an Asian perspective. So let's get into the forums and make these really buzz. As Madeleine's been saying, the level of discussion is very good, but there's still much more room. Only about a quarter of you are actually active on the forums, and it'll be nice to see that number grow. So I encourage you to have a look. If necessary, also participate. And again, don't be afraid to put your own research question there for others to comment on. I've also been impressed with the high level of comments that have come in and the tolerance and basic decency that all of you are showing to each other. This is really, really good, and it's far from common across all the other Coursera courses. So this is a nice group, a nice environment. Why not try and use it a bit more? So I'll pass you now back to Madeleine.
Yes, thanks very much. I can only support this. I really think it's very important to be actively involved in this forum. And don't forget, when you have finished 3 of the courses, you've managed to do this, you have achieved a certain level where definitely your contributions on the forum are going to be valuable. So don't feel shy, feel free to go onto the forum and be active there. We have also enjoyed seeing some of the threads. Again, Richard has already mentioned that some of the topics addressed in the forum. Let me also say that there was a bit of an uncertainty in terms of conflicts, what kind of conflicts can qualify to be analyzed. Yes, absolutely, intra-state conflicts, for example, can be a very fascinating example to analyze. Difficult, very difficult sometimes to find solutions, like in the threat on the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Many of you have made good contributions, and we see how difficult it can be in practice. So taking theory, going to practice to solve this. And this is true, of course, not just for the conflict topic, but also for other topics that you can address in this course. So absolutely, yes, a range of interesting topics, and sometimes not all that easy, indeed, to do the analysis and also give some advice in the end. Okay, I think that is in terms of recommendations in terms of substance. This is what we wanted to put in at this moment. Let me also say that next week we will have Geneva, actually Leah Stettler taking the lead, getting back to some issues in the forum and helping you proceed with your essays. And I'll pass back to Richard.
Okay, well, it's almost nothing else for me to say. I just want to pick up on one point that Madeleine said in the forums, because when I saw the Israel-Palestine forum beginning to build up ahead of steam, I had a bit of a trepidation. I thought, oh no, we're going to fight this war here on the spot. But again, the level of tolerance, level of debate's been really good. What was also quite interesting, I picked up in one of the forums on, is there an Indian approach to foreign policy? And I'm wondering, with the backgrounds that we all share, whether some of the culture of the discourse on foreign policy, coming from Islamic countries, coming from Buddhist countries, coming from Hindu perspectives, that might also be an interesting approach where you can bring in your own specific backgrounds and see how that articulates in the framework that we have. I'm not trying to push you in any directions, but this seems also to be something that we can do very well in this group that we have together, and that we'd actually enjoy exchanging these views. So give it a thought. And those are my final words. So I'll hand back to Madeleine to say goodbye until we meet again next time. So it's goodbye from me here from Leiden.
Yes, and it is indeed also from Leiden, goodbye from my side. I think what was just mentioned by Richard is a very fascinating avenue. Don't forget, it's an international group. We're a little bit of a smaller group of highly motivated and devoted students. So we're happy to have you on board, and we're happy to give feedback, and we hope you give each other lots of feedback. We see you again later in this course. Goodbye.